Imagine receiving news that no parent ever wants to hear, that your child has cancer. How do you process that reality? Where do you find the strength to fight? And how do you hold on to faith when everything around you suggests otherwise? My guest today faced that nightmare, and instead of letting it break her, she turned her pain into purpose in her book, Osunyameye. Nothing is impossible with God. She takes us through an unfiltered emotional journey of faith, resilience, survival, and the unwavering love of a mother fighting for her child's life. A memoir that follows a mother's journey as she navigates the unimaginable, a young daughter's battle with cancer. Through heartbreak and hope, despair and determination, taking us through the highs and lows of facing a life-threatening illness. But this book is more than a story of survival. It's a mirror held up to society, exposing gaps in healthcare, the financial burden of treatment, and the emotional toil on families who often go unheard. It is a book that asks what happens when faith meets reality, and what does true resilience look like? And today's guest is the phenomenal woman behind the story, Hilda Manyo Dickson. Hilda is a fantastic author, by the way, and she's my guest today. She is a woman of strength, courage, and deep conviction. Beyond being an author, she is an advocate for childhood cancer awareness, a voice for parents struggling in silence, and a woman on a mission to spark change. Through her personal journey, she has become a beacon of hope, not just for families going through similar battles, but for anyone who has ever faced a situation that seemed impossible. So, without further ado, Hilda, welcome to Literati.
Thank you.
Thank
you very much.
Thank you so much for joining me today on the program. I must say, first of all, sigh of relief. Let's just take it together. What a story of victory and resilience, I would say. Osunyameye is it's such a deeply emotional and deeply personal story. And so I have to ask you, what inspired you to write it?
I'll say pain inspired it. Yeah. So, at the time I was going through the journey with my daughter, I really needed hope. I needed positivity. I needed to see light at the end of it all. And so many people then, because of some stigmatization, a lot of people were not necessarily forthcoming with their stories. A few people shared, but not as they were not as vulnerable as I would have wanted it to be. And at some point, I joined a network that actually threw me off balance. I started having nightmares. The brave me, the courageous one, the encourager, suddenly started becoming, I became very fearful. So it was at that point I made a vow, to God. I was like, please take me through this so that I could share with the world. I could give someone hope, even in the darkest of moments. And I could hear them see life from a better perspective, I would say. So that was actually the driver, pain, right? And seeing a gap.
And then feeling that gap. Take us back to the moment you got your daughter's diagnosis. It was quite a journey for you to get that diagnosis. And just reading the book, going all the way overseas to finally find out what exactly was what was wrong with your daughter. What was going through your mind as that diagnosis came through?
It's difficult to put words to that.
I know.
Mixed feelings, pain, love. A mother is protective of the daughter. So all through the journey, I didn't see a malignancy, I was born in July, so I'd always say, hey, I'm a Cancerian.
I'm a Cancerian
really?
July 2nd.
July 13th for me. So I would always just go, hey, I'm a Cancerian. But when I had cancer, and I saw it staring in my, right in my face, it was a totally different ballgame, right? So it was really scary, but I had to go through the motions. I had to do all the crying. I had to do. So you first of all be shocked.
Right.
Yeah, with the shocked, the mixed feelings. Will my daughter survive this? How will she go through it? How will I support her? What is this all about? Is there any, so many questions, would run through. But the good thing about it is afterwards, when you face your reality, you need to face your fear.
No mother expects cancer as a diagnosis.
No,
What was in your mind before going into that room and getting that diagnosis? What was in your mind when going through the testing and then it just being cancer out of everything?
I really don't know, because so when I had gone around Nigeria, I had heard all manner of diagnoses, but the last one was, first the doctor suspected it was acute malaria and asked that I should be positive, I should wait. And I'm like, you can't be more positive than I am. I waited almost 5 years to have this child.
Yes.
So I'm definitely very positive. But after hearing malaria, the next thing they suspected was juvenile arthritis. So they said, okay, you know what? We're going to go ahead and send this to South Africa to get the testing done. When is it going to be back? 10 days later. And at this time, I'm like, we don't have 10 days. This child barely had any blood, couldn't work, So the only people that made me think that it might be worse were my siblings, because I have a doctor before me, I have a doctor right after me. So the ESR was quite high. So they said, you know what? This might actually be a malignancy or a very bad infection. Now, getting into the US, the first diagnosis I got was I was a bone infection. So the doctor says, don't worry, in 6 weeks you'll be done. We're just going to take her through very deep antibiotics, strong. You'll be okay. However, there's one more test that needs to confirm whether indeed it's a bone infection or not. And that was, the test we were waiting for confirmed otherwise. So so there was hope. They told me 6 weeks, but that was 6 weeks rolling into. By the time I got the diagnosis, I knew that I had a full year ahead of me to run with it. So, looking
at your journey, right? It's a journey of faith, and it started before the birth of your child, even before conception of that child.
Indeed.
And it's a long journey, then getting the diagnosis and even till now, present day, a young adult, going about her life and doing amazing things in her own stride. How did faith guide you through that journey? And how necessary was it for you to keep the faith?
So I'll say faith was my anchor point, right? And really, there's this courage to face what you can face, not to change what you can't change. There's this write-up, right? And I was at a point where I knew there was nothing I could do. I can't help myself. None of us, that was my husband, that was me, that was the child. We really had no other hope but to focus on God, right? Because the medical team would tell you what they need to tell you, what they are trained to tell you. Wonderful people I met along the way. A lot of them have, been in our part till today. But they have to do their job. But beyond what they tell you, what do you do? When you are told the prognosis, when you are told, for neuroblastoma, it's a very stubborn cancer, when you are told it will keep relapsing, you realize that at that point, you need to hold on to God. And I always tell people, keep on filling your reservoir. You don't know when you would need it, but just keep filling your reservoir. So I think the challenges of life through to that point had already given me a good foundation to know that whether things are going well, whether they aren't going well, focus on God. So at the end of the day, that was my anchor, and that was all I had to hold on to. So I wouldn't really say there was anything more intentional than that. It was our lifeline, and we had to hold on to it. So the part it played was the words, the testimonies of others, seeing that the dead had been raised, the sick had been healed. You're able to connect with it and say, you know what, if all this happened,
it can happen for me as
it
well.
can happen for me as well.
Sharing a story as emotional and as deep as your story, it's very difficult. Personal struggles are difficult. I don't like talking about my personal struggles, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
It's very difficult. So in this journey of writing to publishing, were there moments when you doubted whether you should continue? Were there moments where you said to yourself, no, I'll come back. I should keep I can't share the story.
So you just took me back. So I got to a point, when you read the story from when I met my husband, how we waited for the child, easy. All the years. When it got to the cocoa, it took me years to finish. Yes. Because I got to that point and it was more like reliving the whole journey.
Yeah.
So it wasn't very easy. And I remember when I shared my first draft, my sister-in-law, Sinto, said that I haven't even started. I thought I was done. She said, no, you have so much, go back. So I had to just talk to myself. I've made this vow. It was intentional that this had to not just, because the book today, yes, it encourages parents, besides 100% of the profits go back to supporting, child cancer awareness. Yes, cancer awareness. So, when I remembered the why and the purpose, I had to keep moving. But yes, at some point, I was like, how much should I put out there?
Every morning when I wake up in bed, I have to remember the why, and that's why I guess, if not, I'll be there. My dopamine levels are quite low, and I stay in bed until 3 o'clock. I was like, oh yeah, I gotta eat, It's hunger that gets me out of bed every day. You know what I mean?
Indeed.
So to hear purpose, it's very important.
When I remember why I wanted this, and the hope I wanted to give others through it,
parents.
It just more like energized me and kept going.
How did your daughter and the experience of your daughter change your outlook on motherhood? Because you've always, in fact, when you started the book, you already charted out what you wanted your life to look like. Graduate at 22, get married, have your children by 30, you'll be done with it to focus on. But other plans were in store for you, And then, but even in hoping and praying for this child, 5 long years of infertility, and finally having this child, you were not even prepared for that journey. So how did that impact or change your outlook on motherhood? Or did it change your outlook on motherhood?
Of course it did.
I know.
It did.
I know.
It did. Because when you're expecting a child, you're expecting all the cute things. If it's a lady, if it's a girl, you're expecting all the cute, But then again, I'll say this journey has built me up. This journey has it made me, I've had life challenges, right? But I kind of think each challenge I had kind of prepared me for the next, though it never prepared me for this. But it's had me redefine living, redefine life. It's made me a bit more empathetic. It's made me recognize the fact that I'm just a vessel. I'm just a vessel for the child. The child isn't mine. Because if it was mine, I could take all the decisions and I could control everything, but it isn't. So I could only trust God, right? So it's given me a different perspective. It's actually, when you hear, okay, I'm talking about cancer, I'm advocating here, I'm doing this, it's kind of helped me realize that we're not made to do life alone. We all have a part to play.
A part
and
to play,
yes.
indeed.
So I see life in a bit more of a wholesome way than I did when I expected,
If you're just tuning in, watching Literati here on News Central Television, my guest today is Hilda Manyo Dickson. Her book today, it's a memoir, and it follows her daughter's journey and a mother's journey of resilience and strength in battling childhood cancer with her daughter's diagnosis. It's called Osunyameye. Osunyameye. There we go. Nothing is impossible for God. Let's go to a short break, shall we? When we return, we get to talk about our writing process as well, and we get to find out more about Hilda after the break. Stay with us.
Africa needs its own storytellers, people who understand the continent because they're from it. People who know that news is more than just a conversation starter, it's our stories. Because these stories run deeper than headlines and segments. It's about digging deeper to get the facts and telling the human side of every single story, not just the echoes from foreign headlines and perspectives. It's time to take back our narratives and share them in our voices. The birth of Africa's New Age reporting, and this is where it begins, right here at News Central TV, with stories that put Africa first.
Welcome back. You're watching Listerati here on News Central Television. My guest today is author, mother, and advocate. She is Hilda Manyo Dickson, and her book is a memoir. It's called Osunyameye. It means nothing is impossible with God, and it chronicles a memoir, a story of strength, of resilience as a mother, goes through the journey with her daughter with an early childhood cancer. And this book just talks about the journey and the roller coaster journey from diagnosis to healing and being cancer-free. Hilda, again, well done, congratulations, and what strength you display. And before the break, we were talking about basically the impact of this on motherhood and, your decision to write the book and, just everything else. But you also do sound the alarm of the importance of, of early detection. And most importantly, when it comes to childhood, cancer patients. But with the gaps in our healthcare systems, in your book, you were lucky, you were able to, you had the means. Not everyone does to have the means. So let's talk about that on the backdrop of importance of early detection and the gaps in our healthcare system.
Yeah, so important detection is very important because it gives you a higher chance of getting a cure. Right? We got diagnosed at stage 4, and that was because the healthcare system here at the time struggled with the detection. Things have improved, no doubt. So at this point, it's easier for people to know the diagnosis. But the key thing here is embrace it, move to the hospital. When you have that headache that is persistent, you have that fever that is persistent, you have that lump somewhere, besides the, can't be my portion, move to the hospital. Now, when it comes to the healthcare system, they're struggling. You have lovely professionals out there willing to do the work, but they are really not as equipped as they should be. You have fewer people in the places. You don't have enough resources. You don't have enough equipment to use. People lose their lives at times because they don't have access to that healthcare. And that's something that needs to be addressed. The government needs to be a bit more involved, support the funding, give the resources. This year, the childhood cancer is all about collaboration across the globe. Let's partner with people. Let's partner with the outside world. Get ourselves the skills, upgraded. That would help the medical system because right now, they are willing, but there's only so much that can be done there. So with proper funding, proper resources, more collaboration, I think things should get better.
Your journey has shaped your advocacy or informed your advocacy for childhood, cancer awareness. Talk to me about your advocacy work.
Yeah, so today we piggyback on Two More Friends. Two More Friends is a foundation my daughter started, and in dealing with so many parents and children in that space, you realize that the key thing here is finances, right? So besides the detection, finances, specialized care, those are all things that are lacking. So we've used that opportunity, through Two More Friends to support parents, help them out financially in whatever way we can. And of course, we keep on asking many more people to support us, join the course, and just make sure we give every child a chance to fight.
Every child a chance to fight.
And on the other hand, we just keep on seeing what we can do on our own part as we get working closely with the medical team and whatever it is we could provide to support. And we're really hopeful that someday everything will have, we have a few cancer hospitals coming up here and there, but affordability now becomes the next stage. So we're hoping that at some point, through our advocacy and all of that, many more people will hear about it, the government will hear about it, the world will hear about it, and help would be here. So that's what we think.
Affordability will mean also democratizing the healthcare and the medicine, just to make it more accessible. Democratizing all this, subsidizing as much as we can for and that also means testing as well. It makes you wonder how many children in the rural areas had presented symptoms like this, and they were misdiagnosed with acute malaria, in the rural areas, and they never stood a chance. Just makes you wonder. But away from the serious talks, let's get to some fun stuff. This is my favorite part of the program. It's called Humor Judith's Game. It's where I ask you random questions, rapid fire questions that will get to know you better, and you have to answer them as quickly as possible. It's very, very quickly.
Okay.
You ready?
Yeah.
Morning person or night owl?
Morning.
Morning. Tea or coffee?
Tea.
Really?
Mm-hmm.
If you're a morning person, you should like coffee, huh?
Nah.
What's the last book you read? Please don't say Bible.
Pardon?
What's the last book you read?
Oh, you're right. The Bible.
Oh, goodness me. Oh, before that one, which other one?
Before the Bible, oof. Why is that flying off my head so quickly? Why is that flying?
Rapid fire questions, I know.
Why is that? But it's actually a finance book, actually.
Nice.
Yes.
Nice,
by Rafael
nice.
Cruz. Yeah.
Nice.
Rafael Cruz, yeah.
What's your guilty pleasure? That you indulge?
I just love spas.
I know.
Yeah.
They take a huge chunk of my. I'm planning for this month so bad.
Yeah, so I just love that.
if your book was to be, or if your life was to be a book, what would be the title?
Adventure.
Adventure. Just the title. Just adventure.
Just
Adventures with Hilda.
Maybe Adventures with Hilda. Oh,
Yeah.
with the Dicksons.
With the Dicksons. Yeah,
Adventures with the Dicksons.
What's one thing people don't know about you?
They don't know I'm shy, They don't believe I'm shy. Yeah.
Same thing with me.
With you, right?
Yeah,
They don't believe
a lot. When I tell people I'm actually very introverted, they find it hard to be. It's like I present as an extrovert, but I really like to be in my corner.
They don't believe me.
It's true.
That's my reality.
It's true. It's true. Faith or science?
Faith.
One word to describe yourself.
Optimistic.
A song that always lifts your mood. One song.
Nara, kill it.
What's your personal mantra?
My personal mantra. Do I have one?
I have one.
Okay, maybe you should share yours.
I want to be. It's not really a mantra. It's more like what I tell myself in the mirror every day. I want to be so unfathomable good at what I do that even if you don't like me, you cannot deny that I am brilliant and excellent at what I do.
I think I just want to be the best version of myself every day and every time.
I said to you now.
Something like that.
I am ruthless. I gotta be the best at everything.
Yeah,
you know what I mean? The overachiever in me. But lastly, one of the things that was in this book was a community. Your friends,
yes,
your family. You had a community.
I did.
It was a village.
I did. It was. And I keep on talking about the power of networks. Yes.
I don't know. We're recluse. We like to be at home. I don't know how to do this
we have
thing.
to pull you out.
We like being at home.
Yes, right from being picked up by my brother to the friends that followed up, to my pastors that were praying, to I had people rallying around me. I was out there. And they see me, other parents that live in the U.S. see me smiling and they're like, is this girl okay? She just keeps smiling when we're meant to be frowning. But yes, I did feel love. I did feel that community. And when I tried to get into one that had negative news popping in, it tried to rock my boat a little bit. But I'm glad I was able to pull myself out immediately and, lean in. And yes, the support was there. Even at work, I had support because I was out of work for about 11 months, and I came right back in and all. So yes, indeed, It took a village, like you said.
If the timelines were different, would it have been easier if all that you needed in terms of healthcare and your daughter's diagnosis was here in Nigeria? Would it have been easier for you to navigate that journey?
It probably would have, because I mean, everyone was here. My husband had to shuttle, you know. It would have been easier if everything was all set. There would be no need to leave here,
Right.
because you'll have the support, you'll have your base, right? You have people that you already.
Right.
You
I can
know,
only
but-
imagine the dent it took on your finances.
Yes, it took a dent, but then again, people came up, people showed
And the
up.
community was
Yeah,
there,
the
and the
community,
community.
and my daughter is a citizen, so yes, there was help on that side. And really, I'm looking forward to the day Nigeria would present that way to the outside world.
Right.
Because indeed, there was help each step of the way when we were getting, because initially I was like, hey, I don't need any assistance. But when it was
Up to here, when you're almost,
You know,
drowning.
it was obvious that there was help.
Someone
So
sent a lifeline.
besides the 5-star facility of a healthcare system, like I tell people, if it wasn't a hospital, you want to lodge there. Besides that, you know, they had a system that works, and I'm hoping someday Nigeria will be that system that works as well.
Do you think that, I mean, cancer is a different conversation entirely, but childhood cancer is a different monster.
Yeah.
Do you think that the policymakers in Nigeria healthcare system is doing enough, and if they were to do better, what would those be?
No, they're not doing enough. They're not doing enough. But probably because they're not aware of the depth, right? So what would that be? There should be more funding. The facilities should be top-notch. Your immune system is down whenever you're dealing with cancer. So hygiene should be,
paramount.
should be paramount. So those are things they need to consider. Then the funding, subsidize it, train those physicians, train the caregivers. Those are the kind of things. Invest in resources, right? Besides the medical bit, the psychological bit, the counseling bit, that's something you see over there,
Right.
out of the country, in different streams. So individuals are doing their part, but you can see that the funding, so the policymakers need to give a bit, build their life in that direction,
Right.
because, like I said earlier, every child deserves a chance at living.
Every child deserves a chance at leaving, and you have done flawlessly well. I want to say again, thank you for taking out the time to join us today. Congratulations for coming out on the other side. Big shout outs to the little lady, or the big lady now.
Big lady,
for
yes.
beating the odds, and coming out victorious. And also congratulations again on the book.
Yeah.
My guest today has been Hilda Manyo Dickson. She is the author of
Osunyameye.
Osunyameye.
And
There
everyone
we go.
should read the book.
Everyone go read the book. Nothing is impossible with God. It's a story of resilience, passing through adversity, setbacks, and just beating the odds and going on the other side. A mother's story, a mother's account of battling childhood cancer and just coming out on the other side. Again, many thanks, Hilda.
Thank you.
Thanks
for having me here.
And that's all we can take for Literati for this week. Make sure to join us next time. Until then, keep reading. I'm your host, Judith TV. Bye now.
News Central TV, stories that put Africa first.